it seems like they're targeting families that don't have money to fight for themselves because I spoke with my cousin that's an attorney in California when this first happened, and she told me, "I know you guys would never hurt your kids at all. You hire your own attorneys and you fight this." So I'm so glad that she told me that because many families don't know how to navigate this huge process, and it seems like the system is set up for people to fail because the state has unlimited resources and funding, and the families and the children, were there. Some people are on very limited income; they're struggling to, make ends meet. How do you have 80 to hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire attorneys to fight for yourself in court? Lots of families don't have this opportunity. So I've been really hoping and praying that we could somehow help families someday because this is a huge problem.
Do you think it would ever reach the point where there would be attorneys that work specifically to help families through this time? Just because, as you mentioned, if you're being targeted, if you're a lower income or a lower middle class family, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to navigate the court systems and pay these fees because one, not everyone has a house to sell to finance this battle, and two, not everyone has maybe the resources, the time, and let's be honest, the courage, right? Because you're devastated that your family has been taken away from you and now you're rushing around thinking of what am I going to do next? Do you foresee attorneys taking this on and saying that, hey, our firm is dedicated to fight for the families to get their children back?
Yes, there is a firm in Texas. I forget the name of it right now, but it's with attorney Dennis Slate. He's doing an amazing job fighting for families. Now he has an association with a few families a few attorneys that are helping other families. But I just wish there could be an attorney like him in every single state and all over in other countries because I'm finding, when families are talking to me, because so many have contacted me, it seems like some of the attorneys, most of them don't know how to navigate the system, or families don't realize that sometimes everyone's in it with each other because, they're, if you think about it, the judge, the attorney, CPS, they're all seeing each other all the time. So they're friends. And it's a huge conflict of interest that the child abuse pediatrician is also getting paid by the state because they're funded through them. So it's really concerning how the system is set up and how it works because so many families are being devastated by losing their children. Like I can't even explain the pain of having your children taken from you. It feels like someone passed away and it's this huge deep pain in your heart as a parent that it's just I can't even explain it. But that's why I use that pain to into purpose. I try to turn my pain into purpose and to try to help other families because I know exactly what they're going through and the pain of not having their children every day. And what the children are going through too. This is so devastating for the children, especially as well.
I think so as well, right? Like you have the parents, for the most part, have the emotional tools to at least continue forward. The children, and a lot of times, as you mentioned, right, it happens very young, and they may not have the emotional strength, emotional maturity, let alone the mental health maturity or the mental fitness to go through. And I couldn't imagine being 2, 3, 4 years old and someone who is relatively a stranger, right? CPS, police, coming to your home, taking you away from all that you've known, all that you're comfortable with, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, because many times it could be just a misunderstanding, or many times it could be some confusion. But it seems to be over the last, at least my observation, the last number of years, where it's like, okay, the parents are bad because that's what we think. We remove them, and then the parents are doing extraordinary things just to get them back or just to be in contact with them. And I know that you're living your life after all of this, but has it still been difficult to live the type of life that you want, knowing that this happened to your family not that long ago?
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey towards like healing from it because the emotional trauma, PTSD, all the pain that parents are experiencing through this situation, it takes years to heal from, and these are lifelong impacts that affect families for the rest of their lives. It doesn't completely go away. It's like if you hurt your leg really bad and you have this limp forever that will never go away. It's like that, like a scar and pain in your heart that'll never completely go away. Um, One of the things that you mentioned is that I remember you said that you don't have a child, but someday if you do have a child, or if you have family and friends that have children, it's really concerning because no one's child is safe until we have changes within the system. I have a friend in Florida. She's contacted me a few times. It actually happened to her as well. And then she has contacted me a few times and she's like, "Hey, my friend's going through this too." So it's happening a lot more often than we think of. Even my cousin that's an attorney, she's like, "Hey, my friend is going through this." And then she's in Florida, connecting me with her, and then her friends are going through it too. So it's happening a lot more often than people are aware of. And I thank you so much for helping me raise that awareness because people need to know that this is a huge problem and people need to unite and fight for changes together.
I agree, and it's scary. Even and you made a good point. Like I would want to have children someday, and I don't know how I would function if I was put in that situation. But the blessing is that if it were to happen to me, I at least spoke to someone that has experienced it. They can
Mhm.
share their tips. They can share what they did. They can share what they wish they knew back then. And so they can maneuver better. Whereas, like for you, it sounds like it was totally new, totally caught off guard. And you're like, oh my God, what is it that I'm going to do? Like, how far do you want to take the awareness of what you went through, what other people are going through? When it comes to not only where you're living, but across the world.
Yeah. Like me personally, I couldn't sleep at night knowing that children and families are suffering so horrifically from the system. I cannot. And then it's like if know, it's kind of like the situation, like if you see someone being hurt on the street, like say you're walking down the street and you see people like hurting them physically, would you not try to stop and help, call for help, or would you just keep walking? That's what it feels like with me. I'm like, can't, I can't stand by and just like turn the other way and know that people are suffering, especially children, and not do anything to try to help fight for change. In Texas, I shared my testimony at a legislative hearing, and I've had meetings with several lawmakers there. And it took 2.5 years for organizations, families, and us to help get a law passed that will allow parents a second opinion. It's SB 1578, and I hope that that can be a federal law someday, all throughout the United States and worldwide. And what happened with our situation was I told the children's hospital, when everything first started with the wrongful accusations, I told them, he's never been hurt in any way. Can we have a second opinion? And they said, no, we don't feel that's necessary. So families are being denied a second opinion. It's crazy that you would even need a law for something like that, but they deny a second opinion, take your children, put them in foster care, and then you have no control of them getting a second opinion or not. It's just what they say goes. And then they have their own child abuse pediatrician, you have your medical experts, and usually it seems like the judge seems to side with the state. So it feels like so many odds are stacked up against families that are going through the situation, and it's not right.